Football is a game of passion, and you can see that on the faces of players and fans once that final whistle goes. The roaring scream of victory or the gloomy face of despair. But some players are just built differently. They want to win at all costs, even if it means becoming a scary monster on the pitch. These are some of the scariest players in English football history. First up on this list is Mr. Jack of all trades, Vinnie Jones. Seriously, this guy does everything. The former footballer is also an award-winning actor and TV presenter. Back in the day, Vinnie played as a defensive midfielder from 1984 to 1999 for teams like Wimbledon, Leeds United, Sheffield United, Chelsea, and Queen's Park Rangers. His hardcore rep, that came mostly from his time at Wimbledon, where he was a part of the famous Crazy Gang of Wimbledon. Those guys were notorious for their indiscipline and win-at-all-cost mentality on the field. Vinnie was sent off 12 times in his career and holds the unwanted record for getting the quickest booking in a football match when he was yellow carded after just 5 seconds in an FA Cup tie between Chelsea and Sheffield United in 1992. That's not even the wildest thing he did. In 1998, during a league clash between Wimbledon and Newcastle, Vinnie grabbed Paul Gascoigne by his balls. Yeah, he was that crazy. But there was someone even crazier. You bet that anyone who could work all day and then go training with his football club had something more to him. Jimmy Case had one heck of a career, going from the trenches of non-league football to winning the European trophy 3 times. So how did Jimmy become an important part of that Liverpool side? Well, he shared his story himself. Turns out it happened during one training session when he actually punched his teammate, Alec Lindsay. Even though his boss gave him quite a tongue lashing, it seems his passion in training that day earned him his manager's trust, and he took that trust all the way to matches. Nobody wanted a face-off against the nutcase that Jimmy was, but this next player took a different approach. Long before players like Lamine Yamal, Endrick, and Arda Güler earned Wonder Kid status, Norman Whiteside was one of football's OG Wonder Kids. You may not have heard the name, but check this out. Whiteside is the youngest player to ever play in a FIFA World Cup. Crazy enough, he's the youngest ever player to score in a League Cup and FA Cup final, and the youngest to bag a goal for Manchester United. That's already one hell of a CV, if you ask me. But why is Norman Whiteside on our list? He was about as aggressive as they come. This in fact earned him the name Shankill Skinhead among United fans. His bullish style had a Diego Costa-esque vibe to it, and defenders often found it difficult to cope with him. Sadly, Whiteside's body couldn't hold up, and after his injury troubles, he ended up retiring at 26. We'll never really know what could have been, but at least we know how it played out for this next guy. Needs no introduction, does he? No matter what you think about him, there's no denying that Roy Keane was god level at his job. He captained Manchester United for 8 years and won it all. From a defensive midfield position, Roy earned his bad boy rep from his short temper, hard tackles, and his attraction to picking up bookings. From stamping on Gareth Southgate's balls, to getting into a tunnel fight with Patrick Vieira, and literally ending Alfie Holland's career, Keane's got a sin book that the devil would be proud of. Keane picked up fights with anyone, even his own people. He famously called out Manchester United fans in 2000 for their lack of vocal support at away games, even went as far as saying some of them can't spell football. What a guy. The next tough guy on our list is Duncan Ferguson. Between 1997 and 2006, Duncan made himself unavailable to be selected for his national team because of a fight with the Scottish FA. Now, you get a sense of whom we're dealing with now. Big Dunk was so notorious that he earned himself a total of 9 red cards in his career and a 3-month prison sentence. What in the world? In 1995, Ferguson was found guilty of assaulting Wraith Rovers' John McStay by headbutting him. This was his 3rd conviction for assault, and off he went behind bars. In fact, no player has received more red cards in Premier League history than Duncan Ferguson. Easy to see why he was feared by everyone. Next on our list is someone who Andy Cole called a bully. If you follow football pundits a lot, you probably know Graeme Souness. During his days as a player, Souness had no trouble announcing himself during games with crunching tackles. But tackles weren't the only thing Souness was capable of throwing. In a 1984 match in Europe, Graeme once threw a punch at Ligue Movia. Luckily for him, the referee did not spot this incident. He definitely wouldn't have gotten away with such in today's VAR era. Anfield faithful Thomas Smith was about as hard as they come, and as controversial too. He earned his nickname the Anfield Iron by mentally and physically defeating his opponents. His manager once said that Tommy wasn't born, he was quarried. Smith passed on in 2019 but made a massive impact at Liverpool, enough to get voted 25th on a list of 100 players who shook the comp. But Tommy also had a dark side. Sometime in 1988, he got into the wrong side of the public when he infamously declared that he used to call Howard Gale, a black former footballer, a white N-word. Who do we have next? Here's one wild fact about Billy Whitehurst. He featured for over 20 clubs in different tiers of the league throughout his career. Clearly a man with commitment issues. It's no wonder he had issues playing emotionless football. To many, Billy Whitehurst is probably the meanest man to ever grace a football pitch. Remember Vinnie Jones from earlier? Yup, that's his 2 cents on Billy. This guy was so bad he used to get involved in bare knuckle fights. Legend has it that one time, he ripped out face stitches he got after a fight and stapled his nose to the gash. He's also said to have ripped an opponent's jersey apart during a game. And that's not even all. He constantly had fights with his own fans and coaches. Even in retirement, he's still up to a lot of naughty stuff. Whitehurst was found guilty of benefit fraud in 2008 and handed a suspended prison sentence. Someone else you should have stayed far away from if you were a footballer back in the day was Terry Hurlock. When asked about his favorite animal, former footballer Neil Ruddock said his favorite animal was Terry Hurlock. Some say there's a resemblance between Terry Hurlock and David Luiz. He also had long, curly hair, but with an added beard and earring. Every game was a war for Terry, as he picked up bookings like he was a man on a mission. First things first, rest in peace, Norman. Unlike many of the other hard guys on this list, Hunter's reputation as a no-nonsense tackler ended on the pitch. He had very little off-field controversy, and he's super respected as a Leeds legend. On the pitch, attackers feared coming up against Norman's brutish nature, and his solid showings made him the very first player to win the PFA Players Player of the Year award in 1974. Although he did not play a single match, Hunter was a part of England's 1966 FIFA World Cup winning squad. Chelsea's Ronald Harris led with his heart and his studs as he captained Chelsea to FA Cup and UEFA Cup Winners' Cup glory during his time at the club. Chopper Harris holds the record for most appearances for the club with 795 games. Just like Norman, he hardly put a foot wrong off the pitch, but he made sure to kick any and everything, not wearing his shirt colors while the game was on. Hardly a surprise that the name Chopper stuck to him like a wet glove. A tale of prison, wild punches, crunching tackles, and ball-crushing stories, not many of these players would have gotten away with the sort of stuff they did in the modern game. Probably for the best too, because football, at its purest, is art. And artists should be protected. But how do you feel about these guys, and who is your favorite scary player?